and welcome to another episode of Completing the Shelf, in which we're talking about a Marvel movie one at a time during our Marvel studies on the road to infinity.
Woo!
This week, we're talking about a movie that features a brash, good-looking hero who leads a crew to save a whole civilization from a dangerous life form. In appreciation for saving them, the female leader of this civilization offers the hero sexual favors.
Sir, can
Later on, that's as explicit as I'm gonna go. Okay, we're not gonna group things out this time, right?
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, like, my ears can't handle this.
Later on in the film, the cruise ship encounters a godlike being who has near omnipotent powers, but those powers render him lonely and without purpose because he's one of a kind. So he's on this hungry quest to find purpose and connection. But to do this, he's going to destroy all life as we know it. And our hero must vanquish this villain. But enough about talking about some random episode of Star Trek, the original series.
Wait, what? Hang on. Wait a minute. I'm confused now. Was this about episode 15 in the Marvel studies on completing the shelf with me, Alex, and you, Chris?
Oh yeah.
I'm confused.
Oh yeah, this isn't Spock and Solo.
No,
every time I watch this movie and they get to Ego, I'm like, this is original series Star Trek. I'm waiting for a Kirk speech to happen about life and purpose and the value of individual life and blah blah blah. But anyway, hi Alex, how you doing today?
Blah, blah, blah. Hi, I'm good, Chris. You doing all right? I feel like the side effects of you feeling better since we've talked about Doctor Strange are giving you a strange mental lapse, but that's okay. We are back and better than ever here. Episode 15.
Yeah, we're here to talk about Batman, right?
Do at this point. Well, we'll pull up our bootstrings and go from there. No, unfortunately, this is not Batman.
Mary Poppins?
This is no, not time to be Mary Poppins just yet, but we'll get to that, and we'll explain why we're discussing ladies with parrot umbrellas.
Why don't you take it away while I get my brain in order, okay?
Okay, good luck with that. We'll pray for you on that one. Episode 15 here on Marvel Studies, Completing the Shelf with yours truly. I am Alex. He is Chris, mostly. We're speaking today about Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 2, which was released in 2017, which we say that as if it was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, when really it's just a year from the most important day that we've been talking about since we started talking to you about this back in January. This is film number 15 of 19 in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
And this begins Marvel's turn to start putting out 3 films per year. Up until now, it's been 2 for a while. It was 1 before that, but now we get 3.
Why not 3? Why not 3 indeed? Reprising their roles from episode 1, Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, a.k.a. Bautista, from World Wrestling Entertainment fame and possibly even World Championship Wrestling for our Throwback Thursday fans out there. Bradley Cooper, a.k.a. the jerk boyfriend from Wedding Crashers. Michael Rooker, who deep in his heart still believes he's Mary Poppins, y'all. And more. And now 2 famous actors joining the ensemble of Guardians, but they're not quite Guardians, as Chris alluded to a moment ago. Ego, played by the one and only Disney legend Kurt Russell, makes his appearance into the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
He's excellent.
And we get a brief. Oh, yes, it's certainly a great job by him, as always. But we get another heavyweight Hollywood Hall of Famer in Sylvester Stallone, who doesn't have a very large piece of the pie, but still gets his name added to the illustrious fraternity of Marvel Cinematic Universe actors and actresses.
Are you forgetting David Hasselhoff?
The Hoff.
Yeah.
No, I was going to save that.
Oh.
I was trying to save that, but that's okay. Hoff does make appearance as himself, sort of. Yeah, So let's dive a little more into the plot per se for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Basically, all you need to know is, so we're saving the galaxy again? I guess so. Awesome. We're really going to be able to jack up our price if we're two-time galaxy savers.
Nice quote.
That's an interlude between Rocket Raccoon and Star-Lord. You kind of like, okay, I want more after Volume 1. And certainly, when we think back to when we released that episode way back when, a month ago or so, we kind of looked at each other and said, well, I hope there's another one. And yeah, there's another one. Lucky you, lucky us. But this time it's a little bit different. We kind of know that they're together. We know that there is this understanding that they are there to, again, like most superheroes, do the dirty work that most traditional protective army type entities cannot quite do. Not quite mercenaries, but not quite Samaritans. They're somewhere in this gray area. So you first see them attempting to save a sovereign race with some batteries, but unfortunately, someone's attempting to steal batteries in exchange. Gamora gives up her sister. It's certainly something that you're like, oh, we're going waist deep, straight into it, right on. And then because of that, they end up on this strange, mysterious planet where somehow, some way, unexplainably, we meet Kurt Russell, who turns out to be Peter's father, an entity simply known as Ego, a living planet, which the name Ego alone is like, okay, that can't be good.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a planet. Well, aren't you a little full of yourself, you piece of Groot?
He's literally full of himself.
Yeah. So you first meet Ego in the comic book world in a Thor comic book. So again, this is the bending of realms and all those sort of wonderful things. And it comes into play again here in volume number 2. And all those sorts of multi-dimensional sorts of iterations happenings going on, which is fun. But you also meet a new character as well, and a lovely bug lady who assists Ego, and her name is Mantis. She is a bit of a naive servant to him, I would say, but somehow looks at Drax and loses her proverbial antennas over Drax's beauty. But, you know, that to each their own. So it's just one of those things that over time, Ego wants to keep Peter around, so because father and son ruling the universe, that could never go well. Just look at Luke Skywalker and Anakin Skywalker. I went there. I'm sorry.
No, I can't look at them. They're both forced ghosts.
Yeah. I know. Now they're just blue glowing creatures. You're right. Now, the other interesting part is that Ego can pretty much turn himself into whatever thing that can delight anyone the most, kind of just then trying to create his own perfect being either for that person or for himself, whichever is kind of, better at the time. Over time, Yondu, it turns out, is sort of the caretaker of all of Ego's attempts to make the perfect being to rule alongside him, which is another huge foil in the whole story, but that's really something that Yondu seems to understand over time, that he is just kind of that unaccepted, unappreciated person. He and Rocket get to grow really close. I love that particular scene. That was a really cool one. But I think the scene that really steals the show, and there was one of them in the previous volume 1. I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. This belief that Mary Poppins is legitimately a cool character for someone who.
Excuse me, sir. Are you presuming that you can talk about things that you like outside of that section?
What section? I'm confused. What did I do?
The segment of our show in which we talk about the things that we like.
Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself.
How dare you do such a thing to our show? We're so many in at this point now.
I know. I'll take 2 minutes in the penalty box, and you can take over for some summarizing if you'd like.
Why don't we just go into what we like? Because you know what? It's only been a year since this movie's been out. They probably know what it's all about. Let's get into what we like. So you like Mary Poppins?
Well, bit of a company man. So
I mean, this movie's a company movie too.
yeah, I don't think people have realized this to this point, but I am someone who happens to share the same paycheck from the same my paycheck is signed by the same person who signs Chris Pratt's paycheck.
And it has the same number of zeros.
Boy, that would be swell. Not entirely, but I am not taking this from the company line. I'm taking this as a fan. I'm separating myself from company matters and evaluating this as a third party. So as there is not something to say, you have to go see this. It's a top shelf.
Is that a Goofy voice? Gosh.
No, it's Goofy's cousin Luffy.
Oh.
Because he's aloof.
Ah.
And enough of that.
That was good.
But what I do like about the movie is, again, that focus on what's old being new again, that feel of a retro science fiction B-list movie, but with the visual polish and the quality of a blockbuster popcorn flick that we've come to expect out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. James Gunn, writing and directing again. Thumbs up, 2 thumbs up probably from the two of us. No problem. But yes, we finally get to find out what is on Awesome Mixtape number 2 that Peter gets to hold on to at the end of volume number 1, which turns out is really not volume 1. It's just Guardians of the Galaxy, but you get where I'm going with this.
Yeah, it's for the OCD fans. We gotta relabel
it. So again, I do like the whole, more of the origin of Peter a little bit more. Who is his father? Oh, he's a ego. Literally. Can I say?
Go for it.
Yeah,
go for
one
it.
last thing.
Yeah.
One last thing. Taserface.
Yes.
The whole Taserface subplot, the idea of him, how it happens, attempting to take over and mutinying against Yondu. So much going on with that. I'm like, Taserface. I'm like, really? That sounds like a terrible name for a wrestler. But the ribbing of Taserface the entire time is fantastic.
It is. Rocket is a irreplaceable character because he's so funny, but also really rich in sadness and brokenness that we see a lot more in this. But back to a few points you made, because you know what? I think we might be in sync on this film a lot more. Mary Poppins, y'all, is a great line of pop cultural, connection. But the stuff with ego got me excited. Kurt Russell, fantastic performer. No matter what he does, it's excellent.
Disney legend.
He eats it up. He chews the scenes in this, and he can, because his character is basically a god, right? He creates life on an entire planet, which is himself. Right?
Yes.
But what fascinates me most and what I appreciate James Gunn for and the Marvel Cinematic Universe is they don't stay away from some kind of intellectual core or nugget that everything's built around. And this whole film is built around personal identity for Peter Quill. Who am I? His parentage. And Ego, his dad. He's just this collection of neurons with superpower floating around the universe. He has to develop the senses. I mean, imagine that just the concept of this creature, this being, is crazy. And then he realizes he's alone, and he desires purpose, and he's just reaching out and having sex everywhere with everyone to try and have connection and purpose. And once he determines his purpose is to expand, to consume, and connect everything, that's where it gets twisted and a little crazy. And we got to stop them. But yeah, I like that talk or the examination of even the most powerful of us crave those basic desires of identity, purpose, connection. And our team fulfills that for each other. That's why they're an awesome family.
I like it. I definitely see that that's something that makes it such a more endearing film. But I can see where through some I feel like if you've seen it once, you may have seen it already, and it doesn't really. I mean, they continue to do a successful formula and making a fantastic film, but I don't know why people were expecting something different, and that's what worries me about why some reviews didn't give it as much love as number one because, well, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But maybe they were looking for something more, or maybe they didn't like the ego character, which that's their fault. It's not our problem.
Yeah, if you don't,
I like the ego character.
If you don't like Ego, you don't like this film. Like, he is the center.
Correct.
Of the
It's a
film.
make or break, and that's a big gamble for a film that's still very new, a world that's still very new, even outside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, if this existed and you did not know as part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you'd be very, very happy to keep waiting on reloads and sequels to this to kind of understand more. But knowing deep down that this is going to tie into Infinity War, I think that makes this very interesting to see, are they going to continue to do a Volume 3? Spoiler, they are.
Yeah.
But
that'll be the last one.
Well, that's okay. I think, truthfully, once you go in any universe beyond 3 films, you are gambling on house money, and that can be taken from underneath you very quickly.
Agreed.
Do you think it's time to put this on a shelf, my good man? Or do you have any other things that you liked? Oh, I think we'd be remiss to mention something.
Oh, go for it.
Baby Groot.
Baby Groot is okay.
I love Baby Groot. You take the deepness of Big Groot and turn him into little Baby Groot. I am Groot.
Yeah.
I am Groot. And the bomb scene, that always, I'm like, that's me every day. I am Groot. I am Groot. No!
That's me with Caitlin, for sure.
So are you Rocket? Or
I
are you
am Rocket, and I need tape to tape down the poop disposal, like trash can that she wants to put her arm into all the time, or the toilet lid.
But it's part of me.
Yeah.
I think it's time to put this on a shelf.
Well, I have one thing to say. That another thing I like.
Oh, go ahead. I apologize.
And you mentioned it. The scene that everything becomes really real between Yondu and Rocket. When Yondu goes, I get you, boy, 'cause I am you. And they're both these broken people trying to like mask their vulnerability by being tough and hard. But they really just need people. They want their family. So I love that connection between them. That's a fulfilling moment in the film, and really makes you emotionally feel when Yondu dies, because you've gotten below the skin a little bit, the blue skin.
Yes, beneath the deep blue.
All right.
It's certainly a very heartfelt scene. I agree.
Yeah.
But I think, like all good things, they must come to an end, which is kind of making us sort of reluctant because we're thinking about this. As we mentioned, this is film number 15.
Yeah.
Film 15. We've only got a few more of these to kind of wrap on and discuss as we lead ourselves closer to the end of the month and we get ourselves to this brand new film, which, again, we've seen so many awesome trailers and so many theaters. We're just getting more and more excited for this. It's killing me.
Well, shall we bring this episode to an end by moving into the last segment?
Go ahead and put a shelf on this one, my good man.
This is probably one of the hardest ones I've had to shelf this time. So I'm watching it last night, and I'm like, oh, this is a top shelf for sure. And I don't know what my shelf is now, so I'm going to talk through it. But I'm watching it last night, and the opening scene where they're on the platform waiting for the interdimensional being to show up, and then Groot's dancing, and I'm like thinking the same thing I thought the first time I saw it in the theater. This feels like it's trying so hard to be bigger and better than that dance scene in the cave.
Yes.
And it's not as good. It's fun. But I feel it forced there. You said something about formula. That's the formula that comes out here. The rest of the movie doesn't feel formulaic. If it's actually, I think, 1,000 times better than the first one, especially with the villain. But that opening segment with the Sovereign and all of that feels like the next episode of Guardians of the Galaxy, just like a small little mission, which is what it's supposed to be. So
and just so we're playing score, by the way, didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah.
You have only one thing on your top shelf.
I know. No. I think I have Doctor Strange.
Maybe.
Pretty
Yeah, I
sure.
think you're right. I'm sorry. That's 2.
And Civil War.
Okay,
and
3.
Winter Soldier.
Okay. That was 3.
Yeah. Okay.
That would be the 3.
Yeah. And what do you have? 4? I think 4 or 5.
I think my tally is up to 4. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm about there. But yeah,
So I got to stop talking and put this on a shelf. So let me decide. Oh my goodness, there's that beginning that could bring it down to a 2. Because I kind of want to skip through those parts. So rewatchability. But I think this is a near perfect movie for this kind of genre. So character development's rich. It spawns from character, not from, that's cool looking. Like Transformers.
But it is cool looking.
But it is cool looking too. Like I was thinking,
okay, good.
Transformers 2, the guy like, oh, what if it's in Egypt? Robots and Egyptians? That's cool. Write a movie around that. But this movie is like, how can we figure out what this guy's all about, this Peter Quill? Well, the story comes from that. So I'm going to put it on a top shelf. You took it away. What are you putting on?
Wow. To this episode, up to this episode, I don't remember that we have agreed on a top shelf film. Have we? I'm trying to think.
Civil
because
War?
I know that people can read us. Yeah, I think that's the first one that we did.
Yeah.
Still the only one that we've done. This is a second shelf for me.
Oh.
Surprising.
Wow.
I know. Because I had such high expectations after episode 1 that episode 2, as you mentioned, did feel kind of forced. I liked Ego. I didn't love Ego because it went back to that familiar formula of join me, son, and we can rule the world. I'm like, really? Do we have to go down that road?
Well, it wasn't that, though. Ego needed another Celestial to jumpstart his plan.
But again, he asked how many people to be that second in command with him. And it clearly would never work because there was never, ever going to be that perfect 1-for-1 match that would ever match that up.
Well, but Peter was the only one where the Celestial DNA took hold. So it had to be him or no one else.
Or never at all.
Yeah.
But again, I feel like we've seen that story every single time.
Gotcha.
Again, not every single time, but I feel like it's something that, I saw that there. Not.
I saw that in 1980. I can't see it again.
Well, we weren't alive then, but you know what? Yeah, you understand where I'm getting
Yes,
at. It's
yes.
very, very good. I don't think the soundtrack on number 2 levels up to the mixtape on number 1.
You're right.
And that's the again, we're nitpicking at a fantastic movie. Don't get me wrong.
But I will have to say the soundtrack in this one is more integrated into the character development and story, right?
Correct. I personally loved the opening scene with Groot grooving about to ELO, the Electric Light Orchestra's Mr. Blue Sky at the beginning. That was very cool.
Good song.
But once you get after like song 10 or 11, I'm like, I don't feel like there's always that sort of apropos, this is great at the time, great music choice.
It's not special anymore.
I liked the Cat Stevens father-son. I liked the David Hasselhoff spoof at the credits. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of great songs at the beginning of Awesome Mix Volume 2. The Chain, Fleetwood Mac, Fox on the Run by Sweet, My Sweet Lord, George Harrison. There's certainly great tunes. I'm not discounting the tunes, but again, how it levels in with the soundtrack compared to Volume 1, I think it's just a step behind. And it's so unfortunate because, again, standing alone, these compilations of songs are fantastic to kind of give you an understanding of where popular culture was and how it influenced that generation. But, again, between ego and just a few misses on the soundtrack, I can't put this on the top shelf. I can unfortunately only keep it at a very close second shelf. Again, it's one of those that are hanging on to the top shelf, but dangling more in the second shelf.
And mine is hanging onto the top shelf a little higher. So, we're kind of in agreement here.
Yeah, it's lying on the top shelf trying to stay on and not be pushed off.
As I said, this is one of the toughest ones for me because I think it's really rich and rewatchable. But, yeah, I'm with you, man.
He's so good.
I'll put it on 1. You'll put it on 2. It works out.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good
and we're not at each other's throats over this one like some others, thank goodness. But I definitely understand. Like, we both have an understanding on this one why it deserves it.
We renegotiated your contract with completing the shelf after Civil
What?
War. And so, you get less of the cut after that second shelving. Oh, you did put it on a second shelf. Oh, no, that was Winter Soldier. We didn't quite agree on,
Okay.
We should get on this road again before we start talking about that.
I understand. Certainly, if you have a different shelf than either of us, let us know. Leave that in the comments section below.
And tell us what you want us to talk about after this grand adventure on the road to infinity.
Yes, indeed. We will hopefully get a chance to see you all on the road soon for our very next episode, which will be coming out very shortly. As you see, they're coming out much quickly now. I know we've only had 4 days to discuss Doctor Strange, but it'll be just a little short while till the sweet 16 episode that we will be enjoying. And until then, we will see you on the road to the Infinity War.